to start up the first game here of our second set, actually the first set of Group A. And Elevate going to be the ones picking first here. Anything in particular that you're expecting to be prioritized given these two teams we're looking at?
Both for the Hunter picks, I know both of them will play the AMC. AMC is a top pick right now. I know Dr. L really likes the Morgan, and I know Baronic for SB really likes the Morgan. Although with the bugs, I don't know if we will see her come out, but if it does come out for Elevate, I expect it to be going to Dr. L, or if it comes out for SB, I expect it to be on Baronic.
Such a huge powerhouse whenever you can have your jungler play a mage in that role and then just take some options away from the opposing mid-mage, forcing them into something maybe less conventional. Like you were talking about, a Musenkov, that top priority pick, but surprisingly, it's Elevate that bans it away despite them being first pick.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I know Cam said he would play it, but in the last time he played it in the Pro League, it was against Soar, and he really struggled in that set. So, maybe that's sitting in the back of his mind saying, maybe I want a god with a little bit more mobility. The AMC just wasn't doing it.
We've seen the Musenkov taken away. We've also seen Hachiman get played a good bit already here today. Played twice and to good success last game. So even without a Musenkov, there's certainly still some viable Hunter picks out as Strictly Business round out that first ban phase with the Soul ban. They want to take that out.
Yes, we saw Keegs just performing lights out on that Hachiman. Do we expect Cameron to do the same here?
I don't know. I don't know if Cam plays Hachiman. I don't think he does. But I would be surprised if Elevate first picked their Hunter. Now the AMC is off the table. I think they might wait a little bit in their draft. Maybe get Dr. L a priority jungler like a Kabrakan or something like that, because I know he's been picked a lot, or pressure in the solo lane with the Osiris.
Delny was doing work in the last set. We'll see if Elevate's Neximus could be able to do the same here.
Osiris, as you said, was one that was a terror in the last set. Elevate prioritizing it, but Strictly Business in return, taking an eye towards the jungle. They're possibly here for Caden as they go ahead and pick up that Thor.
Thor is just one of, every time I hear Caden's name, I'm thinking Thor. Thor, Thor, Thor.
Yeah, I mean, this is Caden's god. This is the guy that he's most comfortable on. It doesn't, and he's a great pick right now. He's always been solid, so it doesn't surprise me to see them first pick the Thor, followed up by the Hu Yi. Hu Yi's still very strong. Those nerfs still haven't came through for him on the patch right here. So definitely the AoE ult from Hu Yi. A lot of control around the objectives. Really good at picking out supports early on too. If you can chain CC him in the Hu Yi ult, they just melt.
And that is something that you're right, that's really valuable from that ADC position, that big AoE ultimate. That's part of what makes Hu Yi such a good pick. But now we're taking it back over here towards Elevate, where they're got a chance to try and get a couple picks of their own, and they go with the Kukulkan here. So we think we're maybe seeing Kukulkan in the jungle, or an Osiris solo, or where we think we're going to be seeing those totals.
It's probably going to go Osiris in the solo lane. The reasoning why is Kukulkan can make a lot of early game plays, especially if you go for that level 1 blink play. You go into the back line, you knock up multiple members. As long as you're getting closer to that rage threshold, now you're getting 3 more abilities to be able to chase down the opposition.
Yeah, and Dr. L, being a solo laner, he likes to play these warriors in the jungle. He likes the frontliner warriors, and the Kukulkan, can gank lanes very easily if he does go for the blink level 1. You got the blink knockup, followed by more damage. So I really, and Kukulkan is a strong pick. I'm surprised that SB did not first pick this, because I know that Nickwood does not play it, but I figured Caden would play it. They opted to go for the Thor, but Elevate rounds their first half out with the Zeus. Very interesting.
Now, something I'm seeing already from Elevate is a few holes in their composition is they don't have the backline peel for the Zeus. Between Osiris and Kukulkan, sure, they can dive the backline, find the kills, and make life a living hell for Hu Yi here, but where's going to be the peels here? Are they going to try to go for a Geb or a Khepri here later?
Kenshin is known to play Khepri, but he just hasn't been in meta as of late, so I would expect to see a Geb ban from SB. But if the Khepri is up, late in the draft, you got to think that Kenshin might want to play that, just for the Zeus, because right now they have a very all-in comp. Osiris could call in Zeus. That is about as all-in as it gets. So not a lot of peel on the board for the Zeus yet.
But as you mentioned, life might be hard for Fatal Ghost. You're going up against that Osiris and that Kukulkan, man. Something that they're going to be looking for. Strictly Business, though, taking an eye towards that Xing Chen. They want to limit a little bit more of those options for him as far as those tankier picks, and maybe getting a little bit of help for him.
Guardians are going to be the focus banning point for SB. They already have their 2 frontline warriors, their mid-mage. They could opt to maybe potentially ban out Hunters against Cameron, considering they already have the Hu Yi. But knowing that, the top 2 picks between Musenkov and Hu Yi has been taken away, now I think that SB wants to kind of dare Cameron to pick Hachiman and see what he's up to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I expect to see a get ban here from SB. I would be shocked if it wasn't a get ban. And then Cam's got a lot of guys. Cam's really like the on her in past days. Just likes the early aggression, likes the way on her plays. I know me and him play a lot of on her duels back and forth, so that's always an option for him. And I don't know. I just don't know if he's going to play the Hachiman or not. I know Thor's pretty decent against Hachiman. Can wall him off in the ult. So we'll see.
Called it. The get ban.
Yep.
Kenshin knows to play these safe Guardians in the backline, just peeling for it, especially with a Zeus on toe. You really want to make sure that you eliminate some of those safety options. But like you were mentioning before, Capri has always been one of the staple picks for Kenshin. He hasn't brought it out recently, but now's the time.
Yeah, I mean, if Kenshin were gonna play Capri, I feel like this would be the game. They picked the most, immobile god in the game, or one of them, Zeus, with no peel really at all in the first half of their draft. I mean, Kukulkan has the knock up to peel sort of, but that's very temporary. And Osiris not great at peeling. So you're looking at Guardians. You're looking at Kepri, maybe a Sobek decent at peeling frontliners and tanks off.
What about Athena here potentially to disrupt Berserker Barrage? Something to just eliminate that channeling ability.
Yeah, definitely could see the Athena too. Also, when you talk about the Athena, can easily ult the Zeus in the middle of the team fight, get him that damage reduction. That might be all it takes for him to live a little bit longer. And I do expect Mythic to go for a tankier build here. I would be shocked if he doesn't. Oof. Yeah, and then SB takes the Athena away.
Yeah, smart.
I mean, and that's what going first after that pick ban phase is. They almost get to do another ban in a way, pull another Guardian away from Elevate, and that's what they do. So the Athena option, so going to have to go deeper into the God pool here and now, is Elevate if they want to find this last Guardian here.
I mean, there's always a Hades potentially, right? But when was the last time we saw an authentic Hades support, especially in the console scene? It has been a hot minute. On her for Cameron, you were talking about how aggressive he likes to be and try to go for those one-on-one exchanges. But now, Sylvanas is a good way to stay in the fights longer.
Yeah, and this is a similar comp. We played Elevate in the regular season. They ran a comp similar to this. It's pretty much all in. I mean, you're just telling your Zeus, buddy, try and stay alive as long as you can because I can't really peel for you that hard. So.
I mean, and honestly, the ulti combinations between Sylvanas and Zeus, we saw Season 3 Super Regionals, Team Eager actually make this strategy work, and then everybody started copying it, how powerful those AoE controls are, especially around the Gold Fury area.
Yeah, and when you look at Elevate's comp, it's knock up into Zeus damage. You got the Sylvanas ult knock up. You got the Kukulkan ult knock up. Stone of Gaia going to be a really good item here for SB for their tanks. When they get knocked up, get that health regeneration back. A really, really strong item. You've been seeing it build a lot. So I don't know. It's just going to be, it's basically kill or be killed for Elevate. I mean, can we kill them before our Zeus dies?
You took the words directly out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was thinking. But on the flip side, last pick for Strictly Business is Hebo also screams the same kind of theme, kill or be killed.
Oh yeah, Hebo feels that same way to me too. I got to agree with y'all on that one. But I mean, if they needed, plenty of magic damage in that last pick, if that's something they needed to prioritize to try and answer this Zeus, then I mean, you got to feel like they did it here with this Hebo pick. How do you feel about what Hebo can do for this Strictly Business comp?
I mean, it's kill or be killed. He can one shot the Zeus. I mean, their whole Elevate's whole comp is really based around the Zeus damage off your knockup. So if you're able to get something like a blink on Hebo maybe, which I know Baronic does love to get for a second relic, and just one shot isolate the Zeus out, pick him off early, then you can maybe just snowball the fight from there for SB.
And something that's really powerful for SB here is the Athena synergy with the Habwa. Normally when I think of Athena support, I'm thinking of maybe a Poseidon, maybe a Scylla to get a lot of huge burst damage, but all of Hebo's abilities have huge burst damages. If you get the knock up after the Athena taunt, especially on these two warriors that might not necessarily get beads, they're not going to be able to pop the thorns, and therefore you guarantee your ulti before the thorns damage.
And totally, talk to me a little bit. I mean, the Strictly Business comp, they also seem pretty mobile here to me, like when I'm looking at between the Athena, Thor. I mean, even Hui Yi can jump pretty well. I mean, how well are you going to be able to use that against Elevate?
You talk about the global pressure from Thor and Athena, and then on top of this, you have the Habwa water carpet that's going to eliminate the slows, specifically against the on her pillar.
Yeah, I mean, Hebo, for Strictly Business, it's the Hebo combo. It's Athena taunt into Hebo damage, and yeah, once he gets late game, he has 3 ultimates essentially. So I think it's going to be a story of which warriors can dive the mage better? Which warriors for SB and Thor, Erlang and Thor, can they dive Zeus better than Kukul and Osiris can dive the Hebo?
It really feels like to me Elevate are kind of putting all their eggs into one basket, it really looks like. But Strictly Business, I don't know how much that's the case here, Totally. I mean, even if maybe they lose the Hebo, I mean, he can still bring plenty of damage. Feels like maybe there's a spread a little bit better.
That's true. The late game options between Huyi versus Onher definitely favoring out that because of the Mark of the Golden Crow being able to just amplify damage more consistently, especially on such an aggressive frontline composition. And then the Habwa will just have more burst damage, whereas Zeus has more sustained damage. The longer team fight lasts, the more guaranteed damage I think it'll be for Elevate.
And we didn't talk about the globals that SB has. They have the double global, the Thor, the Athena. So, you know, I know SB is a team that really likes to play around globals. Caden really likes this Thor. So I would expect to see SB get engaged early and often with these globals. As soon as they hit 5, I know SB is looking to fight. And
looking to fight is probably Cameron in that duel lane. So I think Strictly Business have that in the back of their mind, and they're going to probably look to put pressure on Cameron.
Yeah, and Koi's will always help out Ghost as much as possible. He has a really good feel for when he can come in, you know, on Athena, when he's going to be able to come in and get these taunts off, you know, maybe get beads and reset, and then making that 1v1 a little bit easier for Ghost, and obviously Caden with the global. So Cameron has to be very careful in the duo lane not to be overextended. He's known to want to box and want to fight, but he has to realize they have 2 globals. With the Athena Thor, you have to be very careful.
And you were talking about the Athena taunt here, but we also have to look at the Erlang Shen taunt. There's a lot of crowd control on the side of Strictly Business with the Thor wall as well, the slows from Huyi. I'm not expecting Elevate to have an easy time to die with that double warrior comp.
Yeah, I mean, when you take a look at these 2 comps, I really think SB's is just a little bit more well-rounded. I like the idea behind Elevate's comp. I think that, you know, if executed properly, it can work, but I think there's a little bit more margin for error with SB's composition than there is with Elevate's.
And I think that's exactly the way to say it. I mean, we're talking a lot about what Strictly Business has going, but by no means are we saying Elevate's comp can't work, but it's just that if that kind of one thing doesn't work, maybe then Elevate will have a hard time winning that team fight, but Strictly Business kind of have a couple ways to get it done here, Totally.
And they've been showing it in the online portion thus far, sitting at 7-3, getting the 10 points, whereas Elevate have struggled a lot. So, but like you were talking about how thus far it's a new setting for both of these teams. Everything that happened in the online portion goes out the window.
And I want to ask y'all too here, I mean, we got the Sylvanas. I mean, do you think the sustain's going to be a big factor here for this Elevate composition? I mean, is that something Strictly Business had to worry about?
I think absolutely, because we're looking at the AoE damage from Zeus and then the AoE healing from Sylvanas. The longer these team fights last, I think the more favorable for Elevate.
Yeah, agreed. 100%. You said it.
Yeah, so they might not have to go too all in here. At least we're thinking, you know, they get that sustain off. But either way, we're not too far from getting that game ready for you. Let's go ahead and get it over to Gormizer and Taco to talk to us a little bit here about the game.
Thank you once again, Finch, as we go forward with this one. It's going to be an interesting first game. There's a lot on the line. We've seen these teams go against each other before, but LAN changes things. LAN makes it different, and it's kind of the great equalizer.
LAN pretty much changes up the entire scenario because for a lot of these players, some of them might have had the LAN experience, some of them haven't, and that can also have a pretty significant impact when it comes to play style in general. And like the desk already covered, Strictly Business, when it comes to making mistakes and actually recovering from those mistakes, they have a lot more room for error than what Elevate's draft can probably provide.
And they have a lot, I mean, both sides really have kind of a strategy you can see just based on their compositions that they're going for. And when I look at Elevates, I see a lot of, let's just let Zeus and Onher do the damage that they need to do. The rest of them, we're just kind of keep those guys alive, get them in there so they can apply that damage and spread it around. Where Strictly Business, it's kind of the same thing, but with a Habwa.
I'm really excited actually for this matchup as well, particularly between the Hunters, because Onher is a very aggressive Hunter matchup to take into a Huyi. The mindset being that you want to use that pillar to try and reflect that ricochet from the Huyi, preventing the lane clear, preventing any sort of initial aggression at least, because it's a very common combination for Huyi to try and jump into you and then look for that stun off of his Mark of the Crow.
A whole next level play. Not only pillar stun, but pillar block coming through, so it's going to be interesting to see that. And as the Dust did cover, there's like the semi-global Thor ultimate that's going to be able to hit you either from the Gold Fury or the Fire Giant Pit, is always going to be ever present for Strictly Business, but being able to combo that, Athena can follow him around, or vice versa. They can just collapse in, and a lot of CC and control from Strictly Business that just set them up to get a ton of damage bursted out.
And that's the primary concern, at least for Elevate, is that they are basically the aggressors when it comes to these two drafts. And for them, if they don't find the kill off of clean execution, then they're most likely going to end up losing the team fight, because there is just so much counter engage that Strictly Business can actually put out. You've got Thor ultimate, you have long taunt from his ultimate, Athena is probably going to be spam taunting like off cooldown, and Habwa, that's just freebie follow-up.
And free damage when it comes down to it. Like, he can put out a lot, of course, his passive augments that just a little bit more to allow him to hit harder. And on the other side, I mean, Erlang, we're going to have Thor, we're going to have Athena, a lot of setup. Cucullin has the setup, but he hasn't the same impact, as I'd say, as the standard assassin jungle.
It's one of those things where if it is the Cucullin being in the jungle, you are probably going to be expecting a blink to come through. He needs some sort of initiation factor, considering that Osiris can't really be the sole initiator, and Sylvanas for sure, they're going to have at least 1 or 2 members trying to protect that Zeus, and that's really where all of the worry comes in for Elevate, is can we actually keep our Zeus alive?
And it's difficult. Zeus, not necessarily the most mobile, not really good at running away, doesn't have a dash, doesn't have a jump. So if he gets locked down, similar to what we've seen with Amuz and Cobb, if he can get chased down, that's usually the end of it, but he can put out a lot of damage. So his goal usually is to kill you faster than you kill him.
But that's the thing, though. How do you outkill the Habwa? As long as Strictly Business is able to maintain a steady pace alongside of Elevate, I just don't really see how a Zeus could possibly overpower that Habwa, other than space control. Space control would be the primary factor here, but again, Strictly Business just have so many different ways to counter that.
And this is going to be one of those ones where, on the line, there's not a whole lot for this first game. You still have a way to bring it back, because it's similar point system to what you saw during the split. 2 wins affords you 3 points, and it's only going to be 2 game sets each time. So you're really just trying to get that upper hand. We already saw Myth, like John Finch had mentioned earlier on the desk, they've put themselves up 3 points in their group coming in. This is a good starting spot for either of these teams, or for Elevate in the case of honestly how it's kind of weighted. This is a harder group. Kind of expecting even just 1 point can make a big difference.
That's the dream behind all of this, though, is that 1 point, sure, that's at least something to walk away with, but 3 points is at least going to set you in a very solid positioning, at least from the start of the day. Yeah. I mean, nobody wants to be the team that ends up walking away from a set with 0 points. Unfortunately for Kaz, they already suffered one case of that, but there's always opportunity to bounce back. There's still quite a few matches left to go, and again, in these best of 2 sets, it can be really complicated, because you can risk these sort of drafts, but you can only risk them so many times.
And we were kind of touching on the fact that this group specifically kind of rings out a little harder. And, you know, we mentioned Kaz. It's kind of rough for them because they were only able to come in. They have 2 subs filling in, so it's a little bit like that group is a little bit more widespread in terms of top and bottom, whereas this one, everything's really close-knit. Even Strictly Business, who was batting for top for a majority of the split, have come in, and it's one of those things where it's like, well, Elevate wasn't the best, but they're definitely still able to hold it up. And coming in, I mean, both teams have a terrific composition. They both have good strategy coming in. You could see, like, during the player cams when we looked through while they were going through picks and bans, they're taking this very seriously and very committed to trying to get themselves ahead.
And it's also already been touched on, but for Strictly Business, you do have a couple of those players with a little bit of experience. You've got Baronic. He's regarded as one of the best mid laners right now in the North American console scene. And when you walk into a LAN environment, knowing that that's just kind of the standard you not only have set for yourself, but that the public perception has in place for you as well, it just becomes a little ingrained that you have to perform.
And it gets frightening when you see someone with such a positive KDA. When it comes down, like, you recognize at this point, like, you're looking at Baronic specifically, he's going to be getting kills. And now you know he's going into this one. He's going to be playing Habwa, who's known for getting kills. It's very frightening, and especially on LAN where you don't have as much time to react. It's going to be coming out a lot more instantaneously. A lot of these players are going to have to deal with something, and you can see, like, the impact he has had throughout the split. The way that he played actually set up a lot for his team.
The main thing for Baronic that has always impressed me every time he plays is his positioning. He is one of the few mid laners, I believe, that actually just has so so much patience, refuses to be the initiating factor because he knows if he's out of line, then he's probably going to end up dying, and then his team is just going to have to suffer and deal with it.
And we won't be seeing it this game, but you could see, like, in those highlights, playing the Raijin, Baronic is the one that always stood out to me because it was never, I'm going to use my ult to get the damage down. It was a nice little cherry on top, but it was always controlling the flow of the fight, setting up the rest of his team to shine and come through and be the ones that are really standing in front of him. And kind of being that cornerstone comes through, which is what you expect from someone who's literally in the middle of the map.
Anytime you can actually trust your team to have that follow-up factor, it just gives you so much more room for growth and development as a team, especially for LAN, because you've been working on the synergy throughout the online portion. Sure, that's all fine and handy, but can you actually translate that to the real-life situation? And for some of these players, that can be a little bit difficult, but for, again, those players that have been to the LANs, they've experienced already having to perform in a real-life situation, that it makes it a little bit easier, I would say, as far as being accustomed to that sort of pressure.
Especially when it goes from, that was mentioned on the desk as well, going from sitting in a room by yourself with your friends in your ears to sitting in a room, now all of your friends are right by you, you see the other team sitting across from you, you know, like, this is where it stands. And then, of course, you hear the yells of everyone who's getting hype, anyone who's watching. It's always a much different experience, and you have to kind of really focus up to not let the pressure get to you.
I think one of my favorite things that the players, or some of the players at least, have done, I don't know how many of them are going to do it by the end of this LAN weekend, but Transonics actually started the air horn movement, and that's probably one of the more fun facts.
All around, I've been hearing that just slowly but surely kind of cropping up. And I heard it at very first when I was getting water this morning, and it was throughout the last set, and I expect to hear it more throughout the day.
Yeah, that's just one of those things where it really is anybody's game.
Yeah. And it's always, to me, it's always fun, like, seeing the other teams. Like, they're taking this serious. Some of them are going to be studying, like, hey, this is someone in our group. We need to know what exactly are they doing? What exactly are they going to be pulling out? Can we adapt to it? Well, that's going to be the questions they have to answer. We're actually going to throw it to a quick break as we get some things settled here, but we'll be back shortly with the game. Welcome back, folks. We are just here with a small update, so we're still trying to get things settled up, get the players ready, get everything corralled together to bring you this first game between Elevate and Strictly Business. But it's going to be an interesting one as long as they can go through, and we've seen the picks and bans. You can see them here on the screen. But again, it's going to be a short break before we get everything fully running, and we're going to throw it back to one real fast before we can bring you that game.
And for everybody who's just now tuning in and catching up, of course, we've already gone over a couple of the core parts of each of these giraffes, but it's going to be the Habwa, Athena, or Longshan combination that really seals it for me.
And Thor, I feel like, just augments that even stronger. So you're going to have taunt, you're going to have another taunt just in case the first taunt wasn't enough, and then you have a dunk stun or just a wall stun, whatever you really want, which at this point is just going to set up Strictly Business. Probably Baronic going to be the one who's going to just throw that damage down, and it's insane to see the amount of damage. It's one of those, during the online phase, Habwa was sometimes first pick, sometimes first ban, coming through definitely in the first phase a lot of the times just because people forget about the damage he can do after weeks of not playing against him, and I feel like this is going to be a swift reminder.
When it comes to sheer brute force, though, I would certainly have to hand that over to Elevate. No questions about it. I mean, Osiris, Kakolin, those are some very intimidating warriors already, very prevalent in the console scene as well, just because they can provide so much damage while also absorbing tons of it. But it's just that initial concern that it will probably stay lurking around throughout the match as well, just seeing what happens with this Zeus selection most of all.
And that's where I'm seeing Elevate. They have the heals from Sylvanas. They have like the tanky front line to go forward and essentially be the distraction, while on her Zeus, if you're looking for someone who's going to be able to eat through Thor health, through Erlang Shen health, through Athena health, Zeus and Anhur are the first ones that are going to be forefront, and Anhur actually making the appearance is going to be big, but we do have the game. We're in. We're finally there, and we will be able to watch it as we go into game number 1 of the set coming forward. Elevate and Strictly Business. A lot still on the line for them, and both teams looking to try and pull themselves ahead.
All these players have really just been rearing to go. Or watching that last set of Myth against Kaz, and you could tell that on these players, they just wanted to be the ones up there playing themselves already. So now that it's finally their turn, they're ready to show what they've got.
Mythic and Dr. L, names you will recognize, and Dr. L, I believe, is going to have a fun time on this Kakolin coming through. A lot of setup potential, and one thing I said about Zeus does still apply to Habwa, although it's a little bit harder. He can escape. He does have a way to make himself run really fast, but you can still catch him out.
And two very different mid laner starts here. You've got Baronic with that T2 of potentially Bancroft's or Book of the Dead. First item, a lot of power, a lot of sustain. Baronic actually taking a huge chunk of his health. Dr. L still lurking right behind him. He's actually going to be able to find the first blood here.
Habwa, he can run away when he has the water carpet. If he doesn't have the water carpet, he's kind of stuck. He does not have a lot of movement, and even with a little bit of lifesteal, it's not enough to support yourself through 3 members of Elevate coming through, and that is a very fast first blood.
If there's ever an ideal start for a Kukulkan, it's going to be that one right there for Dr. L. Getting that first blood bounty is going to be massive. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to secure that speed buff initially, was able to strip away those small creeps. Now with some assistance, he should be hitting level 2 off of this experience.
And you can see right there the glory coming through from the Bumba. I mean, it's going to be 3-man, but he's getting the heal coming through. He's a little low, so being able to heal himself back up and come in, you leave Cameron to get his own buffs. But again, very early start for the mid. Good start for a Kukulkan in the jungle to be able to set this up. And Habwa is still sitting at level 1 versus the Zeus at level 2. So the clear is going to start to snowball in favor of Elevate as they can continue this push.
Very smart of Cameron to start in that mid lane alongside of Mythic. Just ensures that they have full control of the mid lane pressure. Habwa can deal damage, but level 1, a little bit more complicated when it comes to lane clear.
Falling back, getting their own buffs, and Elevate actually kind of falling behind in the solo lane area. I mean, Dr. L is keeping up pace, but Neximus is sitting level 2 still, just not having the exact same farm experience that you would really want coming into this. And this is, I think, Ryan coming through and just taking advantage of the fact, yes, you lost your mid laner, but everyone was rotating over, everyone was trying to fight. He just sat and farmed.
It was also the 3-man splitting of the fire elementals, the speed buff, when it was just the lone speed buff boss creep. So it makes it a little bit more difficult as far as acquiring those early levels. But Osiris versus Erlang, that's still a matchup that Neximus can really go toe-to-toe with. And Ryan Jarman, he's not foreign to aggression. I kind of expect these two to really start going at it once these secondary members of the solo lane start leaving.
Setting themselves up. Caden has a ton of potential to try and find a kill, but unfortunately, when you're up against Osiris and you're up against the Sylvanas, even getting the stun, even getting a double tap is usually not going to be enough poke to really kind of get yourself running the way you would want to. Yeah, you can throw the damage down, but with those two hovering together, the heal would come out, everything just gets null.
And Matt Coys, well, Mythic actually just turned level 5 as well, but Matt Coys was actually the first level 5 in the match. One of the benefits of just being left alone in that dual lane with a farm. Great pin there out of Ryan Jarman. Not going to be enough to secure any kills onto Neximus, but still, that poke is dangerous.
And it can go through as long as they sit at lower health, it would help. But the problem is going to be that Kenshin's going to just heal it up. He's going to have no problem. He's got plenty of mana to work with right now. And there's no time. Like, at this point, like, you're so early in the game, you won't have itemized into anti-heal, so it's not going to affect it. That poke should ultimately get washed away. And speaking of washed away, Habwa still sitting a little bit further behind, catching up in terms of farm, but with that one death, you can see that Baronic is playing it safe.
But Dr. L, even after receiving the first blood, he just hit level 5 in comparison to Caden, who's been 5, and granted, it might only be by a creep or two, but it's the little things that are going to end up adding up, especially when it comes for Elevate's draft and a composition that can't really afford to fall behind.
And we had mentioned how close this group is, and specifically these two teams don't really know what all to expect. Strictly Business was very strong. Elevate had definitely improved over the split coming into this one. It's going to be a good proving grounds for them. I mean, already having the first blood and getting it so early and so cleanly is a good testament to their skill here. And I expect to see more of that through this game, keeping it pretty much neck and neck.
This probably will be a much more steady pace because of the fact that Strictly Business suffered the first blood. And so for Elevate to have that advantage, Strictly Business want to be able to have the control. They've got a little bit more experience. Speaking of which, Dr. L actually going for the blink initiation, gets a great knock up there, but Baronic's just going to ult away for freedom.
Dr. L just jumps on out, has no issue going in, going out, but comes down, dunking Kaden, looking for that last little tick of damage coming in with Matt Koiz, trying to set this up. The taunt is going to be coming through any time now to try and set up the mid laner kill, but it's going to be Matt Koiz picking it up. He was already ahead, so he's just going to push himself even further.
Spotting out that red buff, though, Kaden's not willing to just let Kenshin walk away. Kenshin's only level 4. He doesn't have an ultimate to try and contest, and Dr. L just getting completely deleted.
The beads used from Cameron as well means it's going to be dangerous if he tries to re-engage here, as he's looking for that disengage, and now jungle buffs being swept through. 2 kills picked up, Strictly Business trying to swing this one back over into their favor, which it wasn't necessarily going into Elevate's favor, but they've definitely been able to put themselves slightly on top.
Just too deep of an initiation there by Dr. L, it feels. He got a little bit too aggressive, didn't have his teammates close by for the straightforward follow-up, and because of that, it immediately turned on by Strictly Business, and then they were just able to swamp.
Oh, they do end up getting it. I saw that come through, and I saw Neximus freeze for a second, and I was like, he thought, like, Ryan Jarman just took it, but not going to be the case. Still, Cheeky going through one of those things you hate. There's 2 things in the world that buffs and players hate, and it's when you're a jungler and you lose your speed, or a solar and you lose your blue. Not going to be the case for Neximus, as he's still going to be able to box it out, but 2 levels down.
And again, for anybody who's wondering who Ryan Jarman is, formerly named Niquid, that's just a pretty recent name change, happened over this the most previous split. And for Strictly Business as well, even though he wasn't able to strip away that blue buff, the fact that Strictly Business has so much control on the dual lane end against Elevate in their own jungle, Cameron just cannot feel very confident in trying to, because most ADCs, they get to just farm out the red buff XP on their own and then look for the 1v1 potentially against Fatal Ghost. That's the whole purpose of picking on her, because you want to box, but SB probably not going to let that happen.
Especially with the presence of Kaden right now. He's going in, trying to get that Berserker's Barrage damage down, but does force the ult out of Neximus, and coming through, the taunt's going to be good. The wall to get a little bit of stun up into the sky. He comes crashing down, going to be able to go and control Neximus, but it's not going to swing their way as the rotation's just big. Coming through Elevate, they're going to pick up 2 kills cleanly, and Matt Koiz, he has Baronic waiting in the wings, but can they actually turn this around?
And Baronic, he's probably starting to regret hanging out here just a little bit. Fatal Ghost trying to find the 1v1 onto Cameron. Pillar going to be good for now, but it's not enough. Cameron getting soloed on land.
Now coming down, Baronic doing his best. He's in a 1v3 right now, just trying to save this speed buff. Going to be looking to try and go in. But there's only so much you can do as Habwa. A lot of damage usually comes down, but you don't have survivability. And this early, especially when you were first blooded, you don't want to fight the 1v3.
And again, what looked like a promising fight for one team, just a completely 180s against them. Strictly Business getting punished for not cleaning up Neximus immediately in Mythic with a beautiful Zeus ultimate placement.
Coming around, though, the big thing I think Strictly Business was able to get out of it. They lost a couple kills. The solo lane definitely didn't go the way they wanted, but Fatal Ghost does get the solo kill and pushes himself just ahead, just enough to kind of keep Cameron down. You were saying Honor wants to fight, but you're starting to fall behind.
No, these ADCs have been feisty. I mean, we saw a 1v1 in the last match between Keegs and Atonement, where Keegs ended up on top. Although, to be fair, he had a pretty massive experience lead already, and when you've got about 2k gold in your favor, it's pretty standard for that to go against you. Speaking of which, Kenshin, not sure he wants to be trying to defend this red buff right now.
Looking for the setup. Not going to be able to find anything for the side of Strictly Business. They're going to get forced out, but Fatal Ghost is still hanging around and still looking for that extra little bit of damage. The rest of the team falls back. They want the Oracle Harpies, potential setup for a Gold Fury, or at least some vision to be able to catch these rotations. And I'm still looking, I mean, Kaden has his ult available, and that's been kind of the one that's been tide-turning for Strictly Business. They want to go in, they want Matt Koiz, they want Kaden right there leading the front line.
But the last time that Kaden came crashing down with that Thor ultimate in the solo lane, it was immediately met by Mythics, and that Zeus ult placement is really what sold that teamfight for Elevate, and it was great because they basically had to forfeit a lot of the pressure in dual lane, especially since Fatal Ghost just got a solo kill onto Cameron. So now if they want to amp up their focus onto the solo lane side instead and look to try and strip away the buffs from SB, Speed, Blue, Fire Elementals, well, they're actually going to be losing the Fire Elementals, but keeping an eye on the portal is always a smart choice early on.
Dr. L going to be hanging around over here. Once you're under those towers, it's still sub 10 minutes. You can start to try and get under there, but it still deals just enough damage that you don't know if you're going to be able to come out alive, especially when you're looking full health bar to full health bar. If they were sitting half health, I wouldn't mind seeing Elevate maybe go ahead and collapse in on that, but they're not going to look for any aggression that's going to be over-aggressive, because we've seen a lot of teams end up toppling themselves just when trying to fight too much.
And another interesting trade-off, too, that SB has actually opted for is giving Baronic that red buff as opposed to Fatal Ghost toting it. And Cameron's actually got the red from Elevate, which is leading me to believe that Fatal Ghost has got to be feeling pretty confident, willing to take a 1v1 trade potentially against Cameron when he doesn't have a red buff of his own. It automatically puts you at a slight disadvantage to the enemy hunter.
And even with a small level lead, like it's maybe half a level, maybe a little bit more between the two hunters, it's not enough to make up for that, although the taunt is definitely enough to equalize that out. The stun going to come through, the purification, return stun into the wall, going to keep Cameron alive as the rest of the team, Dr. L trying to get something in the backline, but Caden, he's up in the air, he's looking for blood, they're too far away, he gets the wall, but it's onto the Sylvanas, so it's not going to really impact them.
Kenshin has zero fear in the world about that stun coming through, but he had a
What
beautiful
a
pull onto Matt Coys, but Baronic is actually going to be punishing Cameron for it.
Now, retreating, we see Strictly Business falling back. They're going to be able to at least set themselves up, potentially going into the mid lane. Dr. L still sitting at about half health, but they're looking for the farm, they're looking for the kills. They spot him out. Matt Coys has the potential to set this up, and the wall, through the wall, comes down to try and open that up. The taunt going to be good. The knock up into the water hands, and he's going to be catching them.
Water spout, and there is just nothing you can do after that knockup. One of the best CCs in the game for a reason, because there is no way to avoid the damage from Hawa's first ability shortly after.
Now setting themselves up 6-3 at 11 minutes. So it's been going kind of back and forth between the two teams, Strictly Business trying slowly but surely to chug themselves into the lead, and they're taking a decent advantage of it. Fatal Ghost showing exactly how ahead he feels by going for this red buff. Going to get pulled, actually uses the beads, afraid of the follow-up because he did see Cameron kind of walking up towards him. Gets the two smaller minions, but not the buff.
It's one of those circumstances where I actually feel as though he beats because he thought he might have still been able to secure that red buff, but realizing that he got pulled just a little bit too out of position, and Cameron was actually able to pick it up. It's hard to out-secure that impale from on her.
And Baronic is actually the one here for Strictly Business taking their red buff. So still in the scenario for Fatal Ghost if he goes into that 1v1. Now he has a 2-level lead because he has been able to take some experience. He has been farming, and of course he has the 2-kill advantage. But it's still one of those boxing matchups that's going to be interesting for him to take slowly but surely. As he continues getting that lead, he'll be more comfortable with.
This combination, though, from Matt Coys and Baronic has been absolutely disgusting. And I love the patience from Matt Coys as well, because he is waiting for the most perfect taunt setups after everybody's already tried using their escapes for the guys that actually do have those escapes provided to them. And that's really been the main key here for SB and making this hot block come online.
Suns are dropped. Gold Fury about to drop as well, and no one from Elevate going to notice it in time. They're going to hear the cue, and they're going to feel bad because they were just about to make that rotation over. Ryan Jarman gets a tower and is looking for a kill as the Thorns go down. Could potentially turn it around, but they're both sitting very low health. The level advantage and the numbers advantage in favor of Elevate, but comes crashing down. Caden looking to try and clean up and return this, but they do get the Zeus ult, so they're at least going to try to run away. Caden's too low to continue this engagement.
And Baronic might be too low as well, just going to get cleaned up at the end of his ultimate, and now 4 members strong from Elevate, looking to secure this T1 tower with 2 already dead from SB, both being a damage dealer and just a solo laner. There's really no one who can be left to contest that.
Another one coming through. You lose 2 members on Strictly Business, and Elevate have effectively brought the kill numbers right next to each other, 5 and 6, as they look to take the Portal Demon, they look to take the tower on the right-hand side, and they were pushing a little in mid, but they're going to fall back ultimately for a bigger neutral objective here in the middle.
A shortly lived victory for SB for sure. Anytime you're able to secure a Gold Fury in that manner, you'd kind of imagine to have a little bit more map pressure and control, but Elevate just immediately capitalizing on SB, kind of relaxing there for a second. I mean, Ryan Jarman knew that he was in danger. He pops the Thorns, he's just trying to disengage after securing that T1 tower, but then there's really nobody able to get there in time to save him.
And now you've set yourself up for exactly this. Coming in, we see Neximus coming and trying to fight, although Didn't expect the rest of Strictly Business there. Does end up falling, and now Ryan Jarman and Matt Coy's potentially looking for a little bit more. They find the root. But again, recognizing that the rest of the team can still rotate over, it's not going to be the fight you think you're going to take. They fall back, they confirm their buffs, and they set themselves up to potentially continue this role.
Just a little bit too greedy there from Neximus. After your team's able to secure the Portal Demon, there's really no need to try and engage by yourself. Kind of reckless when you think about it, because that's Ryan Jarman's blue buff. He's pretty deep. You've got to be fairly invested into the enemy team's jungle to even come close to stealing it as an Osiris. So made it all too easy for Strictly Business to just rotate on over and clean up.
And at that point, you know that the Gold Fury was already taken, so the team doesn't have that much heavy weight on the duo side of the map, so they can rotate wherever they want. And as you can see, 4 members immediately responding there to Neximus, who was there, and then he wasn't. And now it's looking like the same aggression's going to be coming out. Caden, Ryan Jarman, and Matt Coy's all set up to try and steal, but again, they recognize the rotation. They see 4 members of Elevate. They just don't want to take that fight.
Ryan Jarman still thinking about it. Gonna throw that pin over the wall just in case. Never really know if you can catch anybody off guard with it. Ward vision slightly in favor of Elevate for the moment, but Matt Coys has just been chilling in this mid lane, charged up on the Athena, looking for that taunt dash combination.
Approaching 16 minutes in. 7-5 right now, 12 kills on the board, and Strictly Business have been slowly but surely farming their way to victory. They have 3,000 gold advantage as it stands right now, and as time goes on, I mean, Habwa and Zeus, both really the mid laners from either side, start to get a little bit stronger, but Boronic has definitely been able to make up for that first blood.
And 4 members now, Strictly Business, they want to siege this T1 tower. Matt Coys, though, off the mark with that taunt. Everybody just looking to disengage, but Cameron, he already popped that ultimate.
Neximus rotating over as well, and we do see Ryan Jarman coming up down the mid lane. But no one wanted to fight. Strictly Business recognized that it would have been a bad fight, and Elevate didn't full commit when they went in. And now Cameron and Dr. L both losing their ultimates in an engagement that kind of got some poke down onto Boronic.
Check out Caden, though. He's kind of lurking on this right-hand side, waiting to see if he can go in with the Thor ultimate, maybe even just a wall, able to stun out 2 already on the backside. They're going to be zoned away. Ryan Jarman kind of just trying to cause chaos on the backside. And Neximus, he's going to be able to clean up Boronic on the front.
Trades his life out, though, in the process, and right now we do see Strictly Business looking to try and keep it as only a 1-for-1, although they aren't able to find anything after that. And we saw, again, more ults being dropped down. Elevate able to use those ultimately to get rid of the mid laner, but you're exercising a lot. Like, you're throwing so much down to kill this Habwa, and Neximus once again trades his life out for that aggression.
It's probably still slightly in favor of Elevate, though, because you've got a Kakolin and a Sylvanas. Those are still 2 members that can absorb a lot of damage and provide just enough peel to keep Mythic safe. But for SB, they kind of need Boronic to be that ultimate damage dealer outside of Fatal Ghost if they want somebody for the guaranteed kill secure.
The wall set up, a lot really riding on the back of Caden coming through for the next few engagements, and I expect him to be kind of the cornerstone for setting it up. Of course, Matt Coys has that same potential, but we've been seeing a lot. Unless Caden can go in, the rest of the team's been kind of hesitant to go forward with it. They don't feel as committed to going in without the stun coming either from the ult or the wall that Thor can set up.
And for Strictly Business as well, they already had that Gold Fury timer, but the Gold Fury having respawn, they're going to be trying to secure those oracles. Fatal Ghost going to make sure those go in favor of Strictly, but he wants to toy around with this Gold Fury, maybe pressure and force out another engagement.
Trying to hold on to it as best they can, and this is the best way to push yourself into a further lead if you're Strictly Business. A great way to equalize it if you are on the side of Elevate. They were able to get that Portal Demon earlier, which is also about to respawn, so a lot of objectives just straight down the line through the middle going to be coming up, and a lot to contest for both of these teams. Unfortunately, when it comes down to it, Elevate don't quite have as much burst potential, I feel, to steal those away as we would see from Strictly Business.
Zeus Secure is mostly throwing the ultimate down, trying to get those 3 lightning charges so your detonate does massive amounts of damage in a very small amount of space. Mythic, though, going to be forced out of those purification beads already. Sun's dropped just for good measure. Beads and Aegis already burned. All Strictly Business need to do now is disengage.
What I really liked was Caden's positioning through all of that as well as they set themselves up. Still sitting on the side and trying to return this Neximus once again in the backline between 4 members, potentially get bursted down if they choose to turn on him. But Dr. L is going to be getting aggressive with him. They're trying to get into position to take the fight. Now Ryan Jarman fighting 1v4, looking to go through, but comes crashing down as Caden trying to return the damage, forced to use his Aegis. Neximus pays for his aggression. Caden teleports on out of there, and now it's going to be a 4v4 once again. Strictly Business still have a good position to fight.
Matt Coy is ulting Caden for good measure just to ensure that nobody else is going to be following up, trying to provide some of that damage mitigation. But with the 4v5 power play, well, technically a 4v4 because Caden has the back to base.
Coming through, they're trying to fight this as best they can. Dr. L coming into the back, but Kenshin has been erased. Fatal Ghost is low, and he's the main target for Dr. L trying to go back there. Baronic's going to fall down. Dr. L trades his life out, so another trade coming down, but Strictly Business, they still have a tanky Matt Coy's. Caden returning back to the lane. No one can get the Gold Fury, but they've definitely set themselves up to still try to reap the benefits afterward.
Love what Cameron and Mythic did there. They immediately spread apart as soon as they saw that it was only Baronic trying to pressure into them, making that first ability actually miss from Baronic when he was trying to get a little bit of damage secure out there.
And when you lose one of the 3 damaging abilities, especially when you're Habwa, that's your survivability. Like, that is, you have to kill them in order to stay alive in that kind of position. Fortunately for Baronic, it's not going to be the case. Cameron uses the beads to stay alive. Strictly Business setting up once again for this Gold Fury. 4 members hanging around. Caden still hanging back, does have the ult once again to be able to try and change this around, but ultimately, Neximus is just enough pressure to push them away.
It seems as though the mindset here for Elevate is throw as much pressure into their backline as possible and hope that it keeps them distracted long enough for Mythic to get some free cast off. But Mythic has just been getting noticed every single time by Caden, by Ryan Jarman. Both of these guys from SB doing a great job at ensuring that Mythic isn't provided that leisure to the same extent as what Fatal Ghost and Baronic have kind of been receiving.
Gold Fury started up here, this time by Elevate, as they're just trying to bait Strictly Business in. They're going to be able to go through, but the taunt's going to be big from Matt Coys as he sets it up. Kenshin sitting at half health, going to knock them up, but it doesn't matter. You're still dead right now. Baronic getting chased around. He's getting low, but it's Dr. L, and Neximus alone trying to find him. He's 1 hit away if they can confirm it. They're going to be able to get it, but they're under tower. Stunned down. Neximus trying to run away. The Thorns is definitely enough to keep him alive a little bit longer, but the rest of Strictly Business is collapsing on in.
That ricochet, though, from Fatal Ghost is completely chunking away at Dr. L. Ryan Jarman going to be able to clean up Neximus as well. And one more time, 3 for 1. Gold Fury still on the table. No Zeus ultimate available either for Elevate.
Mythic by himself, and that's not a great place to be as a Zeus. You're going to use the Purification Beads to keep yourself alive. You know the taunt is down. Your Aegis comes through as well just to try and keep you alive, but the entire time, exactly what they needed. Strictly Business had a distraction for Fatal Ghost to go ahead and start up this Gold Fury. He's just going to try and run that by himself. He's getting low, but he's ultimately going to be able to take it.
It seemed as though Cameron was debating whether or not he and Mythic should try pulling that Portal Demon, but just too many members from SB ready in that mid lane to try and contest should they venture over that way. And Fatal Ghost was a little bit low afterwards, but still able to pull that Gold Fury, tank it up proficiently enough that now it's just free.
A lot has been committed onto Baronic. Baronic has been the main punching bag for Elevate. He's 5-5-5. But when you look at Baronic and only Baronic, you start to see how Fatal Ghost, level 19, 4-0-6, 5 out of the 6 items that he needs to be able to set this up. You don't want to let the Hu Yi go unanswered.
It's also the double Thorns investment from Elevate too. They are really trying to make sure that Baronic either kills himself or gets killed before he can do anything else. And Fatal Ghost has just been having the time of his life. Nobody's really been paying any attention to him. 4-0-6. Being a part of 10 kills as a hunter, you should almost never be allowed to play that aggressively, but he's been making it happen.
And still trying to make it happen. A good stun off the taunt coming down from Matt Coys, but ultimately just forcing Neximus to jump back, leap out of there, and stay away as Caden's still looking for the aggression elsewhere. He did use his ult as well coming down onto that, so ultimately just big zoning from Strictly Business, but they're halfway done with the Portal Demon still set up to try and take it, and no one from Elevate really in the position to run in and take it back.
It's going to take SB a little bit longer, though, to secure those objectives just because they don't have that crit build, such as what Cameron is running. Dr. L now in a little bit of danger from Caden. Caden, I don't think he wants to let it go, but speaking of which, Mythic, where'd you go, pal?
one of those setups. You can Kenshin and Mythic all in one place to try and keep that damage down, but ultimately you have to hope that they stay in one place. Caden going to use, just actually be able to walk on out of that one, no problem. Does use the Aegis, still going to be hurt just a little bit, but just as hurt is Neximus as he's going down. Dr. L's really low, but he falls back to the base, and this just opens it up for Strictly Business to start taking this tier 2 tower.
Caden just made a perfect play right there, keeping 2 members of Elevate from backing. All they get out of it is a T1 tower, but the rest of his team is just sieging everything.
Yeah, now they're actually starting the Phoenix damage. They root Sun out Dr. L as they're just trying to keep him under control as they just take this down. No Fire Giant. They haven't taken any big objectives recently other than the Portal Demon, but they're still able to run through. They've pushed their lead now 10,000 gold at 24 minutes, and what was kind of keeping pace for pace, that Phoenix swings a pretty big favor for Strictly Business.
It's just the target focus for me from Elevate. It seems to be all over the place. You've got 3 members from your team doing their best to try and defend against a 4-man push, and Cameron and Dr. L just being a little bit too lackadaisical with their backs there. They really needed to get out. I can understand wanting to pressure the T1 tower, strip that away, but leaving your team that vulnerable when the enemy is very clearly not looking to back down is a little bit of a misplay.
Now it's going to be a little bit scarier as you have to play against that. You have to change your mindset and come into this because Strictly Business have the Fire Giant. Fatal Ghost still hasn't died. And when it comes down to anything with a Fire Giant that's going to be dangerous for your towers or your health bar, it's going to be the Hu Yi coming through, especially with Matt Koi's Baronic still being alive, finally kind of breaking through 7, 5, and 6 now. So pushing themselves ahead.
One of Elevate's saving graces, though, is going to be this Zeus when it comes to Phoenix defense. Yeah. Mythic can come up huge here. He's not doing too hot on farm, but no one really is from Elevate other than Cameron because he got quite a lot of solo farm being an ADC right now. But it's just that mid-Phoenix is already gone. So push that wave as hard as possible. Hope that you're not going to have to worry about those fire creeps pouring into your base while looking to defend either the left or right-hand Phoenixes.
And that's really the big thing, is you have to push that focus so you aren't split up coming into this. Fire minions, they're always glorious. Right here, mid lane, yes, it's not a quick or not a slow path back to either side, whichever one Strictly Business decide to siege down, but it still keeps you occupied for part of that fight. We're going to see the tier 2 fall on the left-hand side. Duo Fatal Ghost coming through and just pushing as hard as he can, opening up yet another Phoenix.
SB, though, they really do have to respect the Zeus-Sylvanas combination. Even Dr. L, with that Colin knockup, could have a very perfect setup for Mythic to just follow it up with. He's still going to deal a ton of damage if he's able to not rack up those lightning charges on you.
Trying to siege it down, but with 5 ultimates, this is exactly what you had said. This is where Elevate can shine bright if they want to. They need to go in. The Suns are going to be dropped onto the Phoenix, trying to get the zoning down. We do see Dr. L as well as Neximus going in and trying to do whatever they can, but Neximus is once again getting burst down, forced to ult just to get out of there, and Dr. L on the run as well. We see Caden, though, not done with them yet, comes crashing down to keep that pressure from Strictly Business going, and Kenshin's going to be the first to fall.
And it's going to be the left-hand Phoenix falling in the process. Dr. L getting cleaned up by Baronic. A fire wave starting to run into the base of Elevate, and Strictly Business, they look like they want to close this one out.
Trying to open it up. The Titans exposed. They have minions coming down the left and mid lane. They don't need the right Titan if they can keep picking up kills, and Cameron, you're the next on the list. He's going to fall down. Neximus trying to heal up. Mythic trying to spread that damage down, but Strictly Business are